Appreciate it. Thank you.
Start with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silent meditation.
wanted to try to negotiate the best price. Staff loved him because it created a lot of work. So that is like the first big issue of, do you want to include price? And if you do, currently right now you would need to reorder the points, which you have ability of personnel at 35%, experience 35%, ability to furnish required items at 30%. So if you wanted to include price, you could say, we want price to be 40%, and then you take those other ones down to a total of 60, like 20, 20, 20, or something like that. So if, and I apologize, Ms. Toms was going to be here, but she wasn't feeling well this afternoon and had to go home. With that, I'll be quiet and listen.
So my only concern about doing it with price, I'm very accustomed on my day job of doing things with based on an RFQ. And like you said, largely because there's design involved and whatnot. But also it's done to rank the firms. Let's say, I don't know how many firms we'll get to submit. Let's say 5 firms submit, and we're going to shortlist 3 firms. It gives you an opportunity to, frankly, eliminate the ones that aren't in the, call it top 3, if that's the case, based upon qualifications or lack thereof. If you do it by price, everybody's in. So it comes down to, I get how you can save time by doing this. I'm concerned about if everyone is, I get your weighting, the qualifications versus price as well, but everybody's in. So you could have somebody who wasn't very qualified and they lowball that price. You may be stuck with them. So that's the downside to it, the way I see it. Now, that said, I guess my other comment is that if we're going to do it by price, I presume we're going to have a very, very specific scope set forth for them to bid upon, so that we get apples to apples comparisons on price. That's what I want to make sure that we do, is so there's no question that they're providing all the service that we outline, all the services we outline in the scope. So they actually have pricing for each of the items and a total. There's no question of what's included in the scope. Don't want us to get dinged later for items that they said, well, that wasn't, that really wasn't outlined in the scope. That wasn't included. So we have to charge extra for that. I mean, I'd be okay going with the price as long as the scope is very, very tight. Very simple.
And I share your sentiments on that, and that's part of the reason I left this without price included. Because in negotiating the price with the top-ranked firm through an RFQ type, you have that ability to, say, hey, you were vague on this, make sure this is included. And we've done that with some of our recent designs on the RFQ. There's the time that I talked about, November, December, is not a make or break. We are going to work with a CPA to help the finance department through any questions of the year-end closeout. So, ideally you have auditors on contract and they're working with your finance team October 1. If the council wants to stay with this, we're fine with that. If we shift to include price and you want us to go back and firm up the scope of work, we're going to have another meeting before we release the RFP, which is going to push us to December basically anyway. So the time aspect I may have overemphasized the time aspect. The scope of work as presented probably isn't satisfactory to include price per the mayor's comments. The state statute does require this committee to basically sign off on. If we want to include price, we're going to have another meeting for y'all to come back and look at a revised scope of work.
Okay, so that being said, then I would favor not including price through the RFQ. But, and I'm not trying to jump ahead, but item D, I think we can save ourselves some time on this. I don't know that we need oral presentations or something like this. Not like they're going to show us something shiny that's going to change our mind or anything like that. They're going to talk about the various cities that they've done this work for and their experience and all that. Well, that'll be presented in their written qualifications package. So for this particular type of thing, I think we can skip the oral presentation. That in and of itself would save a whole nother batch of time. You have to give them a reasonable amount of time between RFQ ranking and presentations to prepare for it, presumably at least 2 to 3 weeks or so. So to me, we could cut that out of it, but I say we do not include price since we don't have a super defined scope. Like you said, that would cause us to have another meeting. Yes, Councilor.
If we don't, normally I would include price and everything, just as I would in my own life, in getting estimates for things. Case, I do think that there is a provision that even the highest ranking firm that was selected, then the city manager has a chance to negotiate that price. And if at that time that highest ranking firm, if you can't come to an agreement, then would you go to the next ranked firm so that, you still have control over the price in that regard?
The downside of that is once you break off negotiations with the top-ranked firm, you can't go back. And several years ago, I had this experience of we were looking for an IT firm. We're very happy with our in-house staff, so this is a bad analogy. But the top-ranked firm, price was crazy. Broke it off. Second-ranked firm's price was higher, and down through the 4 firms that submitted, everyone got higher and higher. We ended up going back out for bid. I don't think that would happen in this case, but there is no guarantee when you're looking at price that the next firm is lower.
So we're going to need a consensus or a motion on this one?
How do you want to do these?
I think overall consensus is fine.
First of all, anybody else have any comments? Frank?
I'm just going to say I'm in favor of the RFQ without the price as well.
This is just old news. What happened to our 1-year contract? We had 2 1 years, and they served the one.
The auditors told us, I believe in July, that they were not, we'd asked them earlier in the year, I want to say March-ish, when we were working on the budget, are you going to exercise the last contract? And we got a verbal yes. In July, we got an email saying no. Personally, I think it was a couple factors. One, the cost of inflation may have cut into their margin. B, they used a couple subcontractors to do they offered to do the fifth year, but they wanted a 20% increase. And that would have took it over our purchasing threshold. And it did not smell right to bring it to you asking for a 20% increase for a fifth year.
Okay, that makes sense. I feel the same way that Scott feels on this. I don't feel any different, so.
I agree
Okay, so
not to include the price.
sounds like we have a consensus to not include the price.
Right.
And does everybody agree that oral presentations are not needed?
I do, I don't see a need for it.
Yeah.
But comments?
That's fine with me. If I remember, I think we had it at the last group, didn't we? 5 years ago, 4 years ago. But no, I'd go along with you.
Yeah, I don't
I go with you guys on that. We don't need it.
So that would take care of items A and D.
In the past, we've used 3 years with 2 one-year options. I would recommend continuing that.
That's fine.
Same.
All right, consensus on that? All right, consensus on that?
If we can skip ahead, Mr. Mayor, to item E, because let me scroll up to the chart. Part of the I tentatively put 2 dates in. This is predicated on release of RFP next Thursday. The 15th would be the date that you're opening the documents. You're probably not going to accomplish a lot that night, because if you have 5 of them and they're 30 plus pages, I'm not sure y'all want to sit up there and do some quick speed reading. So you're likely to open them, and you may, based on a submittal, vote to discount one off the bat if it just doesn't have the elements requested. The second meeting would be October 22nd, which is a regular board meeting before the council meeting at 6 o'clock. It would be preferable to firm up those dates, and if those dates don't work well for the city council, pick new dates. But I am confident between Ms. Toms and Police Chief Butler, we'll be able to support y'all's deliberations.
15th at 6, so long as it's just an opening, and it's limited to that. I've got a prior commitment at 7 o'clock that I have to attend, so I can do that so long as it's just an opening.
I don't have what I have in the phone. I just got Hilton, Melbourne Beach, Oceanfront, so I'm not planning to stay over or anything like that. But I wonder if there's a Space Coast meeting or anything. It's Tuesday, Monday? No? Okay.
So,
Okay, then I'm okay.
Yeah, that first meeting should be no more than 10, 15 minutes.
Delete it.
Only thing is the volunteer dinner is not October, right?
No, it's November.
Okay, that's what I said.
November.
That's the only thing I think, but that's right, it is November. I have no conflict with the 15th or the 22nd.
I'm good with either day or both.
I can do the 22nd as well.
Is 6 o'clock preferable, or, okay. All right.
Scott.
Yeah, I think we can get that accomplished in about 30 or 45 minutes, most likely.
And it appears that agenda is going to be a light agenda anyway for your council meeting.
For us newbies, I have a question. So we open them on the 15th and just kind of glance at them. But to actually read all the documents, will we be taking them home? So we will read them before the next meeting?
They will be submitting 5 individual copies. And so you'll get, if we hope, Dominic, if we get too many, he can help carry them out to your car. So there's no back strain. And you'll have a week to review them.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think so long as everybody does their homework, then the meeting should go pretty quickly. So.
And if those dates work, I believe the rest of the dates will work for you. Typically, we put things out on the street for 30 days. If there's a question by one potential vendor, we answer it in writing and we post it on the website. There's a cutoff on that so everybody has access to the same information. So then the one meeting in November that we'll probably have on November 19th, you would approve the ranking. And I believe based on this is with audit firms that I'll be able to get a contract wrapped up real shortly and get this back on the council by December 10th.
So the November 19th date, that is not on a council meeting date, correct?
That is not our normal meeting date, but Maury, do you mind if I pull up your Outlook calendar?
I guess what I was thinking is if our normal meeting date's on November 12th, is there any reason why we couldn't do it then?
Let me go calendar so everybody can look at it. The reason we have the 19th listed is this goes back to, I believe it's 10 days after we can't swear in the new elected official, or the returning has, I believe, 10 days to do that. And so that's why you can't have your normal meeting on the 12th. We could have a special meeting on the 12th. You just can't swear in the person, and I'd have to speak with Carl if the person, whether it's Miss Hume or Miss Romey, Miss Romey wouldn't be sworn in, but if Miss Hume wins re-election, could she sit in on that meeting? I don't know that at this moment. But yeah, we could have a special meeting on that. It really doesn't move up your calendar unless you're wanting to have a special meeting in December to approve the
Just to be most efficient.
It would be the 19th and December 10th. So
What day are we going to?
And so that's where you would approve the ranking of the firms, and then on December 10th, you would award contract. If those dates are agreeable, two tasks for you tonight is to formally adopt the evaluation criteria is, let me, the criteria assumes an understanding of the scope of work. Let me scroll up to the scope of work for you. The scope of work starts on page 4. And that talks about the reports to be issued, communications, working paper. So the scope of work, as I previously mentioned, is 3 rather generic approaches of ability of personnel, experience, and ability to furnish required services. Those are just about split evenly. If you want to modify those, you can at this point. If these groupings are fine, we can check that box, and your remaining task would be to formally take a vote to adopt the evaluation criteria and announce the release of the RFP on September 12th, 2024.
Okay. On the evaluation criteria, under section B, there's 3, as you mentioned, there's 3 fairly broad areas to judge on. I would suggest that we boost up the experience category to perhaps 50 points, and then deduct 15 points from the ability. I would imagine that most of the submitting firms are going to meet the criteria. And I'm afraid, we're going to end up with a tie is the bottom line. I think what we will typically lean on is the amount of experience, the relevant experience. That's just my suggestion as to maybe how to tilt that a little bit so that we can make an easier decision.
So your proposal would be put experience at 50 and the ability of the personnel at 20?
At 15 points. We're adding 15 points to the experience, and we're going to take away 15 from the ability to furnish.
Which puts them at 20. 35, 25, 20.
No, puts number 3 at 15, number 2 at 50.
Number 3 at 50.
15 for number 3.
Oh, okay.
Number 2 is 50.
Got that.
And the ability of personnel would be the same as what it is currently proposed.
Okay, see, so it went the other way. And that's basically considering most of them would be able to provide services.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's like, be very surprised if they didn't come in with the appropriate qualifications in licensing and education. So you're basically, you'd be in a position of, if they meet that criteria, pretty much having to give them 35 points to start with. And then the ability to furnish required services, well, if they have the qualified personnel, there's really no reason why they don't have the ability to furnish the required services. So to me, what you're left with is a little more,
That makes sense to me.
something we could judge would be the experience itself.
I agree with that.
So I think we have consensus on adjusting the points And so then the date is the other thing, right?
I think it would be best, Mr. Mayor, if we took a vote on formally adopting the RFP as a whole, and after that, you could announce it will be released on September 12th and can ask for an adjournment.
Okay. So we're talking about an RFQ.
Yes.
So I would entertain a motion to approve the RFQ as a whole,
Well,
as we've just talked about with these modifications on the scoring criteria.
to approve RFQ as a whole with the so-called changes we made,
To the criteria.
modifications.
Second.
Changes.
Okay, motion by Deputy Mayor Gerton, second by Councilmember Dyer. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. And then, I'm sorry, what was the date you were talking about?
September 12th.
And that can be consensus? Yep. All right. Consensus on September 12th?
That's fine.
Adam, you good with September 12th? Oh, I'm sorry.
Just checking.
Are you counting?
That's fine.
And I'll get y'all clean copies of this.
Okay. So that carries us through item 1, right? Or did we just?
We also
do
did number 2.
Okay. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this? No?
Your
Nobody?
chance.
Cool. I know you guys like numbers over there.
Here's your chance.
Okay. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Deputy Mayor Gerton, second by Councilmember Dyer. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. We are adjourned.